Hi, welcome back to Bite Size Dentistry. I'm Dr. Shrey, and today we are going to be making sense of the metallurgy behind endodontic files. And I promise you, I'm going to make it as interesting as possible. Let's get started. Endodontic files form the core of any modern dental practice. They are not only a source of massive expenditure, but they're also a source of massive income. At the end of the day, bread and butter is our jam, right? The metallurgy behind these files and all their various shapes and their colors and stuff can get pretty confusing. Now, as medical practitioners, it's super important that we know what we are using and what we are being sold and marketed. And if we make sense of those things, then we can leverage the good things about each system in specific clinical situations and make a real actionable difference. I promise it'll be fun. So let's get started. So NITA in its basic form has a resting phase known as the austenitic phase. Now consider this as that when you have austenitic phase, right, and you strain it either by bending it, rotating it in a tight space, the areas that undergo that strain shift to an unstable phase known as the martensitic phase. Now this martensitic phase is more flexible and has better superelasticity and is responsible for what we have as cyclic fatigue. But since in the regular files, this phase is unstable, as soon as the strain is released, the file comes back to its original shape. So when you take it out of the canal, it looks exactly like it did when it went in. But this is where things started to get interesting. People wondered, what if we stabilize a little bit of this martensitic phase inside the austenitic phase? And we come up with something called M-wire. So M-wire was this patented innovation by Dentsply, and what they did was they stabilized this martensitic phase. And what they found is those files were generally tougher, more durable, more fracture resistant, more flexible, and basically had everything that we like about rotary files that were just augmented. They were just superb rotary files, and that gave birth to the ProTaper Gold. So this heat treatment by Dentsply inspired a lot of companies to perform heat treatment on their files, and basically that titanium dioxide coating has several colors, and that's what gives rise to like the blue, the gold, and other forms of heat treatment. It depends on the thickness as well as the way the file was heated. Now this gave rise to like the Aurum Pro, the Neo Endo, just to name a few, and hundreds of other files that are in the market today. Now a couple of years later, after the M-wire file, Colteen was thinking, wait a minute, what if we make a lot more martensitic material in this file and we make the file almost purely martensitic? So they came up with something called control memory files. Now these files were insanely flexible. They would bend and they would maintain their shape so you could pre-curve them. And because they were so flexible, in the file if they were to get torqued somewhere in the canal, they would unwind rather than break. And that was the way in which they would prevent fractures. Now, these files had no super elasticity in the sense that if you bend it, it wouldn't bounce back to its original shape, which meant that if it was rotating inside a curved canal, it maintained the center of the canal really well. But the downside for having something so flexible was, number one, it just could not be used for retreatments. Secondly, there was some amount of learning curve involved with such delicate files. You needed to enter the canal absolutely in one shot, and it would not progress apically very well in calcified canals. So there was a little bit of controversy about it. Subsequently, Hyflex released the EDM series, which combined a few other surface characteristics, which led to Hyflex being one of the most sold systems of all time and highly recommended for early users. So while the two giants, Colteen as well as Dentsply, had innovated with heat treatments towards martensitic, Cybron Endo was thinking that they'll take things in a totally different direction. What they decided to do is introduce a phase known as an R phase. So the R phase was this temporary phase in which austenitic materials could be heated, and instead of being milled, they could be wound. It had two relevances. Number one, when you wind a blank rather than milling a bank, then the surface characteristics are way more smooth. And the second thing that happens is, now you have to understand this, Cybron has a huge amount of K files, H files, and other things already being manufactured by their twisting procedure. So in the terms of their supply chain, if they are able to twist their rotary files, that really brings down their cost of production. And that was an innovative business play that Cybron Endo pursued with the advent of the twisted files as well as the K3XF. These R-phase files strongly relied on their geometry as well as the mechanical properties of austenite, which are very good torsional resistance rather than cyclic fatigue. Because of their geometry, they were able to have the cyclic fatigue, and these files were extremely flexible, and while they had a little bit of a learning curve, They cut very efficiently, had really good tactile sensation, and were quite innovative for their time. Even now, I feel K3XF is one of the most immortal files, and if you're likely to break a file, then K3XF is the file for you to use because it's very, very difficult to break that file in a canal. So if you look at the basic spectrum, you have the spectrum with an R phase, which is pure austentatic based on the geometry, which are twisted austentatic files. Then you have the regular austentatic files, which are milled, but when you strain them in a canal, they shift to the martensitic phase. Then you have the heat-treated segment, which has the titanium nitride coatings, as well as the slight martensitic phase mixed in with the austentatic phase. And then right at the end, we have the controlled memory files. Now, if you want for a second, you can pause these videos and test yourself to see if you can identify all of these files just by looking at them. You can do that now. I hope you found that as easy as I did, and if not, I hope you find it easier with time. Now, to end this video, I thought I will talk to you about something that is super innovative and absolutely mind-blowing. There's a French manufacturer called FKJ that came up with a night-eye controlled memory file that is totally counterintuitive. Now, this file is straight at room temperature, and when it enters the body at around 37 degrees, what it does is that it curves in the shape of a hook. So this hook-shaped wire is able to clean canals that are even oval-shaped and generate a huge amount of turbulence. Now, as we know that turbulence created with the irrigant inside the canal is responsible for removing smear layer, and hence these files are used as finishing files and technically can be added on to absolutely any system that you're using. I've recently managed to get my hands on some of these files, and if you guys would like that, please mention in the comment below and I will record an entire review video as well as a how-to video just for these files so you can incorporate them into your practice. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about the geeky aspects of endodontic practice. I promise a lot more of the videos coming up will be way more clinical, but I needed to put down this geeky foundation so that you're able to take advantage of what is being marketed to you. Always, please leave your comments in the comment section down below. Do like and subscribe. Tell your friends about this. I'm so happy that you guys are loving these videos as much as I'm loving making them. And I'll see you guys next week. Until then, Godspeed and don't forget to be awesome.